Hi ladies and gentlemen, well today is January 20th, 2017 and President Trump is now President Trump. The inauguration took place and of course this isn't news, you all know that by now. And you know, I'll admit, not everybody here but I certainly did. I broke down and cried like a baby. Not that I don't realize that Donald Trump is just a man and that he can still make some errors, and I've talked about that. But I want to point out a few things that he did in the inaugural address that are so very important. And you know, I look at things like this. They mean something. That certainly meant something today, and I wanted to share it with you. First of all, I want to quote him. He said in his speech today, "We are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people." I suppose that he's going to really rein in a lot of the agencies, a lot of the alphabet agencies that have been used to suppress people of the United States, basically to steal from them and, like I just said, oppress them. And then we're going to see some power pulled back from these monstrous, I'm going to call them fleas, and you know what that is, the federal law enforcement agencies. Now, I was a military officer, as you know. I was a police officer for a time. I have respect for good law enforcement, but I don't have respect for those who, based upon a living document interpretation of the Constitution, run over people's rights and use government power or basically under color of law to hurt people and to cause them problems. And we've seen a lot of that, and I think we're going to see that pulled back, just as we are the empire building that's been going on by the neocons and the CIA around the world, much to our detriment, I might add. So that was the first thing I wanted to bring up. And before I talk about this next thing, I'm going to put this video up first when I get back to where I can do it. The next video that you'll see after this is a better explanation, or an additional explanation. It's called an addendum to Donald Trump and David Koresh, part 5. And basically it's going to go over a piece of information that some people asked me to cover. And so this will kind of transition into that. That'll be the next video. So you know that I study Hebrew. You know that those things mean something to me. And I want to point out something that actually boggled my mind when I saw this happen. I knew Donald Trump was a man who is a man of faith. He believes in God. He tries to do the right thing. Yes, he's a man, but his heart is in the right place. Pardon me. Something really incredible happened today. First of all, he had 5 Christian ministers and a rabbi give basically prayers. I don't believe that's ever happened before. I think they've had maybe one opening prayer and one closing prayer. But he gave 3 at the beginning and 3 at the end. 3 Christian ministers to begin with, then 2 plus a rabbi at the end. Now, that's the number 6 in Hebrew. Well, big deal, you might say. No, this is critical. I don't know if he knew what he was doing, if God inspired him, or if somebody told him about this. But those 6 invocations, calling God to ask God to assist Donald Trump and the people of the United States to return the republic and to return to a God-fearing, righteous, by righteous I mean, you know, a balance of justice and mercy primarily more than anything else. But the fact that he had 6 done is, the number 6 in Hebrew is Vav, or Wal, as I told you about before. And what does it symbolize? A covenant. He made a covenant in the inaugural address with God. That's what happened there. An actual covenant made by the President of the United States with God. Why, it brought tears in my eyes. Wow. That's the first thing. Then during his speech, he referred to, and it depends on how you look at it, but I basically counted 3. 3 occasions. Once he actually said God twice, but it was still on one occasion. So 3 times is what I'm going with. and that means in Hebrew Gimel. And basically what it means is traveling, in motion, going somewhere. So it's a promise to move towards the right thing. It's the way I'm looking at it. So, real short video here. I don't know if you'll find this interesting. You probably won't, but to me, it meant a great deal. And I don't know if we'll actually pull this off in the long run. As you know, I've had a lot of distrust and mistrust of the American people. It's not split quite down the center, but as far as who's choosing which side, the Luciferian side now, it's plain to see. Everybody should see this. The Luciferian side and the side of God. It's very, there might be, differences of opinion amongst the worshipers of God or whatever, but it's the basic motivation or what's in your conscience that matters. Maybe not your understanding of all the particulars, but that division is plain now. The Luciferians on one side, who claim to be humanitarians and who claim about rights, but actually will try to keep you from exercising yours, even threaten you with violence. And then God's people who set the example, albeit not perfectly, but that's the intent of their heart. So I think possibly, this could be a really important time. I've certainly been praying for that. I believe that we should be the example to the world, as President Trump said, and I've said this before, an example to the world of liberty and of good government and good people, not trying to force our system of democracy, which we're not. We're not a democracy anyway. We're a constitutional republic, forcing it on the rest of the world, but being a shining light to the world. And if we're really that good, then the others will emulate us. So, now, and you military guys and you people in the CIA, I know, projection of power to ensure our security. You've played that game for so long now. It's old. It's really bad. Okay? Being out there to protect our citizens and our interests is one thing, but that's not what you're really about. Okay? You haven't been for a long time. So anyway, the good news is, I believe Donald Trump invoked a covenant with God today with those 6 prayers by the 5 ministers and the 1 rabbi. 6 being the Vav or the Wow, which is a covenant. And then he invoked God 3 times in his speech, basically. God bless us. God, we thank you for this man who is willing to sacrifice his life, his fortune, his sacred honor, literally put it on the line, and his family for these truths. I publicly thank God for